Hi, everybody. I am here with the infamous John Polk. I'm just really grateful, John, that you are one speaking at the event Contact 2022 this August, oh Lord have mercy, this October 14th through 16th. And you'll also be offering tours at night for an extra fee, but it's guaranteed, right? And they can see ships in the night. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So how have you been? Like you were at our last event. People loved you. They loved the tours. It's guaranteed fun. Even forget the fact that you're going to definitely see ships. It's guaranteed fun. He's a fun guy. Everyone loves him. And you're a medium. You're a psychic medium. So, and amongst other things, and you do healing work, right? Well,
I do. Reiki master. I'm a Reiki master instructor as well.
Yeah. So how is it going with the tours?
You know what? It rained here in Sedona for almost 2 straight months. So talk about the spirits coming in. One of the only paid tours I had during that time period was through Scott in Sedona West. Some producers from Los Angeles that work with some major artists came in, and they're his friends and connections from a long time ago. And the skies divinely parted that night. We're laying on blankets on the ground, looking up with my night vision goggles, which are PVS-7 Generation 3 military issue night vision goggles. Him and some of his business contacts slash friends, we were all there. And it was just a score win-win proposition. But it was like, I hadn't been able to do UFO for probably a month prior to that.
Because of the weather?
Because of the weather.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was in Walgreens, I don't know, a month ago or something, and my house flooded. My house flooded 2 days before my birthday, which was July 30th. And I'm talking about it, and this lady's like, and she was a volunteer at the local Sedona Heritage Museum. And she said, I've lived here 50 years. I've never seen it rain so much, ever.
What do you think's going on?
I think part of it is HARP. Because the amount of activity when it does clear up is just on point, man. It's more than ever before. And Scotty and I last year, June 8th, we saw a UFO fly right down 89A. Yes, me, him, and his administrative assistant at the time. And I used to do most entertainment in town. I'm trying to take a nap because I was going to be up at our next door doing karaoke, and I couldn't sleep. And I look at my phone and I had 8 messages. Are you seeing this right now? And I walk outside, and Scott and her are in my front yard just pointing straight up. This thing was right over the house. I'm not kidding. It wanted to be seen. It wanted to be photographed. Everybody in town saw it. It was just as blatant as possible.
Tried to say it was a weather balloon.
Yeah, and I said, Scott, watch some BS. Watch when I go to the gig tonight. Somebody will come up with some cockamamie excuse. And people are saying, oh, yeah. Well, they came out and said that it was a weather balloon. I'm like, eat my weather balloon.
They can't just keep saying that.
And in the local news, he brings up the next day, they said it was a weather balloon. They had to come
I mean, it's just comical when they say that. It's beyond comical. It can't even be. They must be just spoofing us because they realize no one would even believe it's a weather balloon. Has anyone ever seen a weather balloon outside of a UFO? No.
No.
Where are these mythical weather balloons? I've never seen a weather balloon my whole freaking life. Not even on YouTube. It doesn't. There are no weather balloons. It's all a big. I'm sure there's weather balloons.
It's laughable.
It's laughable.
But anyway, but what's really good is that every major conference coming up, and even the minor conferences coming up that have anything to do with UFOs, I am the UFO guy at every single one of them.
Really?
Every one of them. And so when I first moved here 5 years ago, I had 1 pair of night vision goggles that were broke, and now I have 9 pair.
Wow.
And I'm the biggest player in town with this, but I had to pay my dues. You'd rather pay your dues than have something handed to you easily, because usually when that happens, doesn't take long for the sophomore jinx to come back and get you.
That's right.
So yeah, and so I paid my dues, and I did a lot of free volunteer work at these conferences. I have a full DJ sound system that can interface with computers. So I was the logical choice to be MC for all these conferences when I first moved here. And that
And
paid
you've got the good
dividends.
voice. And you've
What's
got the good voice too. You've got the voice for it. You
I
know,
went,
you've
yeah,
got
I
the
did.
voice and the energy for it. You're absolutely MC material.
You know, I remember when I was doing my podcast, Quantum Hologram Matrix, when we would start talking about very sensitive material, all of a sudden we would lose signal. The whole radio station would go down.
Right.
Internet would fail.
Right.
It was very obvious. And then I'd go back and listen to the chopped up, you know, potpourri of what we actually recorded. And you could tell it was being done on purpose based on what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But it's all good. And the only thing you can do is just keep doing it anyway.
That's right.
I have over 1,000 shows that are gone, pulled off the internet, completely gone. And they were in external hard drives, but all you have to do is just plug into the internet with your external hard drive plugged into the computer, and then go and take everything. And who's they? It's debatable who they are. But a couple of years ago, I went to Florida and came back. I have 2 big glass double doors on my front door. And I always put my blinds pulled because you can see into my house from the street. I come back from Florida, both my blinds are wide open. And something told me to leave all of my electronics, my computers, and my night vision goggles with my friend in Phoenix. And I did that, and I wasn't sure why. And the second I get home, I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I start looking through my house. Nothing was stolen.
Because all the good stuff they wanted was gone.
Well, but also what I believe is they put bugs in here somewhere that I will probably never find. And that's fine with me. So, you know, the local bar where I used to do most of the entertainment in town is right next to my house. And back in the day, I would go there and I would have people tell me, just straight up tell me, or I'd look at them and go, you're a spook. I can tell by looking at you. I can feel your energy. And then they'd be like, ah, and they'd start backpedaling. And I'm like, you're supposed to be trained better than that. You're supposed to be able to have me say that to your face and you not even blink an eye. And so they're either lying about it, which is a federal crime, you know, lying about being in the CIA. You can't do that. Or one of the two, it's either real or they were lying about it. It's debatable. I didn't ask for ID. And I'm like, you know what? You got your job. I got my job. Here, let me just show you some UFO footage. I'll show you Bradshaw Ranch Stargate footage. I'll show you all that stuff because I have it. And I have some of the best that you will ever see.
Yeah, you do.
And then they're like, cool. Next thing you know, they're coming over to my house doing UFO with me from my front yard.
So they changed sides. They said, we're leaving the dark side. We're going to go to John Polk's side. My friend John Lear, who just passed, I mean, they broke into his house so many times. He didn't even bother locking the door anymore. It was all bugged and everything else, but he wasn't sweating it. He just said, I'm not worried about it. I'm like, okay, well, even if you're not worried about the authorities, aren't you worried about just the thugs? Okay. And stuff like that. He goes, no, I'm protected. I don't care. He was, and he would be talking shit, so to speak, about people all day long. Not unlike Scott, you know, you kind of wonder, oh boy, you know, they're putting themselves out there. But some people are protected.
Well, and he was on his last leg also, and he knew it. So he's like, I'm going to divulge everything.
Right.
Everything I was not supposed to talk about now, I'm going to talk about it. And I have full license to do so. And I don't really give a rip what anybody thinks. I'm telling you the truth. You know, I saw him at the UFO, I think it was UFO Congress a couple years ago, interviewed by Carrie Cassidy. And he was talking about how there's a number of planets on the other side of the sun that from our vantage point, we just can't see them.
Right. He said there was 40. There's 40 planets in the solar system.
Yeah, and he was talking about that. And then in effect, Jupiter and Saturn have over 50 moons apiece. And even one of them goes the opposite rotation of all the others. And so some of them are like technological satellites that they've been using, and the ETs have probably done it. We're in on it. We've had bases on the moon and on Mars for decades.
The moon is the base. It's not even like
it is a base.
The moon is the base. Like the book that his daughter, I'm publishing it and I compiled it, is on, it's John Lear, The Truth. Can you handle it? And it's all this stuff.
Perfect title too.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you think about it, there's so much to the moon. It has a synchronistic orbit, which means we only see 61% of it. The other 39% of it, because of how it spins in conjunction with the Earth's spin, we'll never see that other 39%. And that's where the bases are. Also, perfect eclipses. Also, perfect eclipses. We have not found Hubble and Kepler space telescopes have never found another moon, anything like it ever. They've been looking for, they probably have found another one, but they won't talk about it. But the fact that we get perfect eclipses. So the moon is 2,125 miles at the equator. If it was 2,124 or 2,126, we would not have perfect eclipses, but we do. And that was done on purpose. And what I believe, and I can't prove this, is that the Anunnaki brought it in as a control system. It's a master computer that's linked to computers at the North Pole and then Antarctica at the South Pole, and it triangulates. And it also codes into our genetic code. It's a total control device. And
yeah, it is. It is. I mean, well, Sitchin saw that when he did this, but he didn't say it as a computer, that's connected to the North and South Pole that I'm aware of. But, John would say even, you don't even need the most state of the art telescope. You can see all kinds of activity on the moon, on even the part that we can see. There's all kinds of lights and all these things happening. You don't even need like extraordinary equipment. So how do they keep lying about this stuff? But they do.
They do. And I talk about this, and in Sedona, there's a huge woo-woo crowd here that thinks that the moon is a spiritual thing, and it can be, but it's all based on control and computers, and nobody wants to acknowledge it. It's kind of turned us into basically a slave species to the moon. And when you give your soul away, just like religion, you give your soul away to an alien, guess what? Guess where your soul is going to go in the afterlife? You're going to go into another false afterlife matrix, in the quantum hologram matrix. So my new book, which probably take me another year to make, Take Your Life Back, Yahweh's False Afterlife Matrix. So the whole concept behind religion is to give your soul to an alien. And we don't even think of it like that, but that's what it is. Give your soul to an alien, and then you have salvation, but whatever. So think about it. You give your soul to an alien. How many movies have we seen about these deities or whatever taking people's souls and controlling their souls? So these ascended masters, which can be negative or positive, malevolent or benevolent, they have like contests. Oh, I got like 8 billion souls. How many do you have? I mean, it's just like that. And our prayer energy is so real. So we pray to these aliens, we give our souls to them. What do you think is going to happen to us? We end up in this cycle, this spinning, like the washing machine cycle. And eventually your soul will get, spit out. You got to go through it for a long time, many, many, many lifetimes, because you don't even know it. You're kind of blind to it.
That's the problem.
Yeah. My mom taught me a long time ago, when you die, you look for your oversoul. You look for your oversoul so you can be pulled away from that false afterlife matrix that you gave your soul away to through church.
I wrote a book on this called Death and Continuing On, A Primer in Interdimensionality.
Wow.
Maybe 10, 15 years ago. And the premise of the book was, you go, at least initially, exactly where you think you're going to go. If you think you're going to see St. Peter at the Pearly Gate, that's where you're going. If you don't know, or whatever you want to see, if you have no idea where you're going, now you've got a little bit of a problem. It's better to have some type of goal, however false, in my opinion. Otherwise, you end up in this gray, murky field, because my work as a medium is moving some of these spirits around to go pick a freaking better location. So you stand the risk of being lost, okay? Which is never really a good thing. So, it's better to get right with ourselves now while we're alive, meaning what do I know? Which could include, I know nothing. All right. If I know nothing really, or just like this much, okay, only what I've experienced, what do I want to do when I die? Where am I going? I'll tell you what, Susan Morgan will be very fucking discerning, excuse my language, on where I'm going. I will not be fishing around, lost.
So my dad's brother, my uncle James, and we're both related to James Knox Polk. His name was James Polk. Okay.
And my youngest son's name is James Polk Morgan.
Well, there you go. And so anyway, I'm flying to Texas for a funeral. land in George Bush Airport, get a rental car. Me and my brother drive up to Lufkin, Texas, which is out in the sticks in East Texas. And we go directly to a wake. It's like just as sad as it could be. And then I'm very psychic and I'm a medium myself,
Right,
just like yourself also, probably runs in the Polk family line anyway.
right.
And I'm with my dad, and and my uncle James was very revered and loved by the community. Successful businessman, deacon in the church, he was very loved and respected,
That's
very
classic
sarcastic,
Polk, by the way. That's
very
classic.
sarcastic to the point
Yes.
where you'd want to smack him, but
Yeah.
he's so funny, you just had to let him get away with it. And everybody knew James to be like that. And so it's too much energy. And I'm like, I just need to get away from dad. And because he's sitting there talking to all these 300 people walking in to pay their respects. So I'm sitting at one of the pews and I see my Uncle James over his casket, which is very common. It happens pretty much every time somebody dies,
Yeah,
especially when you bring in all these other souls to pay
exactly,
respect. And
exactly.
so I must talk to you. And I'm like, I can't get a clear channel. There's too many people. There's too much going on. I said, just wait till I'm alone and then communicate with me then. He's like, okay. So I'm staying in some hotel. I wake up the next morning. He's right over my bed. I mean, just as clear as day to me. And he's like, I feel so stupid. And I'm like, why do you say that? He said, because I realized I've been praying to aliens my entire life and I didn't know it. And then get this. So my mama and papa, East Texas grandparents, mama, papa, were waiting on the other side to escort him away from Yahweh's false afterlife matrix.
That's good.
Oh man, it blew my mind. It really did. That my grandparents, who were devout Christians, church every Sunday, Sunday school, and it was a good thing for them. It really was. But when they, passed on and were on the other side, they figured out that they'd been praying to aliens too. And they didn't want my Uncle James to get sucked into that false afterlife matrix again.
Okay, well
Yeah.
then for the people watching this, do you have a faith and a belief in God? I already know the answer.
Absolutely. I'm a metaphysical minister. So I'm John. I'm an international metaphysical minister out of the University of Sedona. And I did that back in 2011 when I was living in Orlando, Florida, doing entertainment by Disney World. And I had no idea I'd end up living here, but it was through the University of Sedona. Figure that. I did it all online. It was about 355 open book essay questions. You either pass it or fail it. I'm pretty confident that I got every single one of them right. But I went to go print out all of my work, which was on my computer. And then the cursor just starts erasing certain answers. And I'm serious. And my brother and I are watching this happen. And he ran and got a thumb drive and stuck it in the computer. It was like, thank God, man. And so then I went back and looked at what questions and answers were being erased. All had to do with what I just talked about to you just now. But metaphysics, at least through the International Metaphysical Ministry of University of Sedona, it's all about my God self, my God mind, my God power of positive thinking and manifestation. And that's the whole thing. Universal God consciousness. That's the whole thing. The whole thing's based on that. So God is the most important thing to me in my life. But yeah, Western philosophy, God and us are two different things. More Eastern philosophy is that we are the same thing, and we are. My God self is my soul, and it's omnipotent, and therefore it exists in all dimensions simultaneously. So therefore, I exist in all dimensions simultaneously in the quantum hologram.
That's exactly right. And science validates that. I used to say even years ago, if your God is the one that would say, to prove your love for me, go and take your oldest son, and I think only son, and bring him to a mountain and go and toss him off. And at the last minute he goes, okay, I just wanted proof. Well, you can have that God all day long. That's not my God. That's not my God. And if that's my God, I got a freaking bone to pick. Okay, that ain't my God. My God puts the sun up every day, whether I deserve it or not. My God is gracious and loving. That's the only God I've got. Everybody else, you can keep your gods that ask for, for these sacrifices. That is the quote alien gods, amongst others, that's not a gracious or loving being.
No, and it's like, have you read the book? Have you read the book? I love to argue and debate with ordained ministers. And what I do, I got this 20-point checklist of scriptures. And I'm like, you are responsible for this murdering alien God that you call God, that's supposedly all loving. Guess what? He killed the firstborn Egyptian sons in the
Exactly. That's the
firstborn,
epitome of evil. That's the epitome of evil.
killing
So,
children,
right,
killing babies.
right.
Really? You're going to worship that? Good
Yeah.
luck with that. Where
Good
does
luck.
that put your
Good. Yeah,
soul?
that, right. Well,
Well,
I'm
I
not
always go,
here. I'm
did
not
you
here to
read the
convert.
book? Yeah, did you read the book? You can't just take what makes you feel good out of the
Right.
book
And
and
it's
then
not even just
indoctrinate.
reading the book. How about read the book with a critical thinking? How about just look at it with a critical thinking mind?
Yeah.
Do you want to be associated with somebody that would kill the firstborn of everybody in a town? Do you want, is that who you want to be associated with? Fuck that. I mean, sometimes I'll even say, and I believe this, I mean, it's not even belief. I don't believe in anything. I only experience things. I sometimes blame God. Like, I don't expect perfection from myself. Why? Because I'm created. I didn't create myself that I can remember. If I did it, I don't have the conscious awareness of this. So everything is perfect and in balance and moving like this in all of creation. So there's a higher hand in this. So if I'm less than perfect, it ain't my fault. It's God's fault. So I say to God, hey, you made me like this. So I don't have a judging God. My God doesn't judge me harshly. Doesn't work like that. God can do whatever God wants. The creator created this symphony that is too vast for me to understand with my, 6% usage of my brain. That's just basic critical thinking. Has nothing to do with even being spiritual. Like, just do the critical thinking on it. But anyway, so you're going to be offering tours. You're going to be there. You're going to have a table. You're going to have sign up table. It's not that space is limited per se, but kind of. If people want to sign up ahead of time, where do they go? What's the website?
They can contact me directly, and I'll just give you my phone number. It's 407-924-8857. If you'd rather email, that's okay too. My name is John Polk. So my email is jpolk
Yep.
@gmail.com. Either way, it's $80.
Okay.
It's $80 per person. If you
Yep.
try and find a better deal in town, you're not going to.
Knock
And
yourself out. Plus you're guaranteeing it. Like, give me a
I
break.
guarantee you, weather permitting,
That's
I mean, as long as the weather's cooperating, I absolutely guarantee you. And I will teach you how to do CE5. And Scott's been with me plenty of times where we were talking to these spaceships, and 3, not commands, because you don't tell them what to do, 3 basic requests. Can you power up or flash for us? Can you vanish, which means vanish, or can you change direction? Do something instead of just going across the sky. And I'll have my satellite app open so I can tell you where the satellites are.
There's a lot of satellite activity now, isn't there?
Huge misnomer about satellites. Most of them do not move. And the reason is, if they do, you lose your cell phone. They're there.
I didn't know that.
They're stuck in orbit for very geographic locations. So if they start moving, you lose your cell phone, you lose your Wi-Fi on your computer. First responder vehicles with radios, 2-way radios, all of that, police communications, military communications. If you move the satellites, you lose the link, and that's why they're there. So in effect, they are moving, but they're moving in orbit with the Earth. And also, this is a huge thing that people don't get. I've had European satellite technicians test me and quiz me on this, and I didn't even know that they were doing what they were doing. They just found me and wanted to see if I was full of it or not. And they're like, John, one thing that you did say that was correct, you're the only one who even got it. All the other guys in Sedona got it wrong. But satellites are too close to the Earth for the sun's shadow to reflect off of their metallic exoskeleton.
Well, let me ask you this then. When I see, I got land out in Arizona, where I see I've got really good view of the sky. And I'll see these slow moving, and they're not planes. And I just assume they're satellites, and they're not flying erratic like a UFO. What the hell am I seeing?
Okay, so how about this? If I'm doing UFO and I can see any amount of daylight on the horizon, and if something goes from west to east, it's a satellite, because you can still see the reflection of the sun off of its metallic exoskeleton. You
I
see
see them going north to south in the dark, pitch black.
then you did not see a satellite. So let's say it's around 9 o'clock or whatever. If you think that you're seeing a satellite, you're not, because number one, they're about 100 miles away from Earth. Okay, the satellites are, and they need to be, because if they're too far away, they lose signal, and they're solar powered also. So what is the reason for creating a satellite that's solar powered to shine light 100 or more miles down just so you can see it on Earth? There's no reason to do it. They don't have lights on them either. They
So,
don't
you
have
know what?
lights.
So I was seeing UFOs,
You're seeing something unidentified.
but like a well-mannered UFO that's just because it's not a plane. It's way too high. Little,
Yeah, and then weather satellites, yeah, weather satellites are 22,000 miles away, so you can't see them.
right.
Okay. And spy satellites do a polar orbit from north to south, but why would they have lights on them so that they can be visible by people like myself doing UFO tours? And why would they fly right over Sedona when there's more UFO tour companies here than anywhere in the world? Why
True.
would they do that? It makes no sense whatsoever. However, that being said, if you can see any amount of daylight on the horizon and something goes from west to east, it's because of centrifugal force and rotational inertia. So if they go against the spin of the earth, it uses
Right.
more power. So it's easier for them to just go west to east. And they can even get locked in orbit and not even use any solar power to do it, and allow the earth to spin them around the earth. Kind of like in Tom Hanks movie Apollo 13 or whatever it was, where they're getting close to the moon and they're running out of fuel. And they, instead of pulling against the earth or the moon's gravity, they allowed it to boomerang them. So they go around the moon as it spins, and then it slingshots them back to Earth. And if they didn't do that, they would have all died, because they would have used up all their power. They used up all their fuel. So there's a lot of there, and I have recordings of these satellite technicians telling me that I was right. So
That's good. All right. So people can see you at Contact 2022 this October 14th to the 16th. You'll be doing the tours. So we start at Friday. Are you going to even maybe do tours Thursday night, the night before? People can reach out.
I
And
could,
weather permitting, right? It's basically
yeah, because we don't know what's going to happen with the weather. I mean, we're in this weird rain pattern, which is totally unusual and unorthodox. There's no rhyme or reason behind it. However, a week ago, we got that hit the Baja Peninsula in Southern California, and it was flooding and flash floods here in Sedona. It was really bad. Very unusual weather patterns here that is very curious and makes you question why we're getting so much rain in the high desert, which we never have gotten in 50 years. It's interesting because when I first moved here, Sedona and Arizona in general was going through a monster drought. So 3 years ago, Arizona had the hottest summer on record in history ever. And I remember I was doing, I do vortex tours and history tours and scenic drive tours and medicine wheel tours and ghost tours. But my day tours, I can remember it was like 108 degrees and I'm out on the land, and it was just brutal. The town is on fire. The state was on fire. And then the next year we had more rain in 4 weeks than I saw in 4 years. And people were dying. There's a story of a 16-year-old girl who went missing. Her parents were freaking out, of course, and she got caught in a flash flood. Some elderly people were out in the flash floods, got sucked up into it and died too. It was weird how the weather just flipped like it did over the course of that year.
it's flipped where my land is. And yet I'm right near where, they say, California, and it is in a drought, and Hoover Dam is dangerously low.
Lake Mead is
Lake
really
Mead is
bad.
like, oh my God, is bizarrely low.
And the Colorado River, which goes down through the Grand Canyon, is dangerously low too. But it's like, why are we getting, even Phoenix, are you kidding? Phoenix has been having flash floods and stuff too, because they're not set up for it at all either.
Right. Well, they're definitely messing with our weather.
I believe that.
They meaning not the ETs, by the way, for anyone listening, but governmental forces are definitely messing with the weather.
Yeah, HARP is very real.
It is
So
real. Okay. And
there
you-
was this documentary that was filmed probably 10 or 15 years ago, and it talked about Hurricane Irma hitting Florida and Hurricane Harvey hitting Houston. 9 years and 11 oh no it was 9 years and 11 months later. 9 years and 11 months later, 911.
11, right.
My house in Florida got destroyed right after I sold it. Seriously, but I had sold it. I cashed out. It wasn't my house anymore. But they had written a documentary about it starring Randy Quaid, and he was excommunicated and ostracized from Hollywood after being the narrator of this video. Seriously. And it talked about Hurricane Irma hitting in 2017 and Hurricane Harvey hitting in 2017 also. How do you know that? 9 years and 11 months prior to that, 911. Too curious.
Right.
And Randy Quaid, funny actor, great actor. He's been ostracized. You won't see him on any movies ever again because he came out and talked about this stuff.
Well, it's time for a reset button on this planet. And I think we're getting it the easy way or the hard way. And
I agree with you.
yeah. So, well, thank you, John. Again, people can reach you. Say your phone number one more time. I'll also put it on the screen after when I edit it.
All right, 407-924-8857, or email me at jpolktours@gmail.com, or go to johnpolktours.com.
Yeah.
And contact me directly. Most people don't give out their phone number. I give out my phone number.
Yeah, I give out my phone number too.
I have no problem doing it. So
yeah. So you can call them or text them. Again, it's not that we want to say space limited, but it becomes a logistic problem if you get like 30 people. We can still work around it, but it makes it trickier. So if you want to go and see these tours with him and you're going to be in Sedona at the event, book it now. Book it absolutely now. So, all right. Well, thank you. And I will see you in a few weeks.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Susan.
Me too. Okay. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.